It does not matter if you drive for DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub. One of the worst things that you and I can experience when you're on the road is it being dead slow. Now, this past weekend, I drove on several apps and it was dead slow. Now, it doesn't matter when you're watching this video because I want to show you really the worst pay ever on some of these platforms so I can show you what to avoid. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike. This channel is dedicated to your success in this gig economy, the side hustle. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. And make sure you're prepared on the road with the best accessories for any niche in this gig economy. Check out my Amazon storefront, that linked down below. Friday and Saturday, both days were very slow, and really both days had some kind of bonus pay as well. So I want to show you some of these orders, which ones were worse, which ones were a little bit better, which ones you probably should accept, and if you should really just call it a day early. So let's start with Friday. Now I'm coming to you from San Diego, California, and I drove on a $1.50 peak pay bonus. In fact, that is lower than average, a $1 peak pay bonus. So let me know down below in the comments if you've seen less peak pay. So this order, Poke Chop, for $9.75, a pretty good start to Friday for 5.3 miles. So firstly, understand, where is the order taking you? Is it taking you to another busy area, or is it dumping you in a center of a residential zone that's going to require, let's say, 3 to 5 minutes to get back into a busy zone? Next order, all things seem pretty good here. Del Taco, $8.50 for 3 miles. And I mean, come on, a sign that it's not slow, that it's actually busy, is I got this stacked order from BJ's Restaurant, $6.75 for a decent additional miles, 3.3. And then our last order for Friday for KFC, $8.50 for just 1.4 miles. So that actually seemed pretty decent. We got a stacked order, and all of these orders are on that $1.50 peak pay. So what's the problem? I want to give you a few tips here about how to identify slow shifts and what caused this, even though it seemed pretty decent, what caused this to be a slow day. Number one, are there specific niche days or maybe even niche hours where you should not drive? I mean, it was Friday. It was Black Friday, and at least here in San Diego, the malls were open and people were out and about shopping. So I feel like some of those customers are itching just to get out of the house. They're going to do some shopping, and most likely they're just going to grab something to eat when they're out. So that's point number one. Are there specific days or certain hours where events or certain things in your marketplace may affect normal order traffic? And number two, let's go back to the peak pay on DoorDash and how this may affect your driving. Like I mentioned at the start, the peak pay here is only $1.50 in the Mission Valley market segment in here in San Diego. And just for some context, typically, at least just a couple of weeks ago, that would have been $3 or maybe $4 of peak pay. Well, you may be thinking, well, if they've decreased peak pay significantly, that is the per delivery bonus pay on DoorDash, well, wouldn't that mean there's less drivers because drivers don't want to drive on $1.50 peak pay versus $3 or $4 peak pay? And that's a valid point, but consider this. If there's certain marketplaces that do have the peak pay, even though it's lowered peak pay, and other segments around that marketplace do not have peak pay at all, and that's going to pull some drivers possibly into that your scheduled zone. So please let me know down below in the comments, have you seen lower peak pay on DoorDash? Because I'm seeing it here in San Diego. And secondly, is it really just one market segment or maybe several that have the bonus now? And are there different segments that do not have bonuses? And is that pulling in drivers to those segments with the bonus? So now we'll jump into Saturday driving, where I drove on DoorDash and Uber Eats. I want to show you some of those orders because Saturday was worse than Friday. Now, my first order on Saturday was actually this one for Uber Eats for $7.64. Now, this one, I incorrectly thought I was tip baited from the customer. If you're not familiar with what tip baiting is and how to protect yourself, check out the video linked above. And I really only accepted that order on Uber Eats because of that expected tip in addition to the standard pay. So you can imagine if you have one of those orders and that tip never comes in and your overall pay is lower, how that would lower your confidence in those apps. And then the next order on Saturday for Jack in the Box, $7 for 2.8 miles. Here's a quick earnings tip for you on DoorDash. So my first order on Uber Eats, it brought me up to the Claremont Marketplace here in San Diego. That is the market segment that's actually north of my standard marketplace in Mission Valley. So I'm driving now in Claremont on Saturday on just a $1 peak pay from DoorDash. What I've been noticing on DoorDash, and especially if you're new, listen to this, but as you may know, your entire marketplace is broken down into smaller segments on DoorDash. And based on the time of day, the day of the week, and just your driving experience, you'll find out that those segments perform wildly different from each other. For instance, in Claremont, I haven't had really continued success driving in Claremont. So I think it's the layout of that market segment, how many restaurants are actually available in that segment. But let me know, do you think it's actually the demographic of clientele in that segment as well? Because I've never really done stellar in that Claremont segment. Now this one, our next order here, burros and fries, $7.25 for 4 miles. Now this one is pulling us into a different market segment. And after that order, I felt like it was going to be so slow in Claremont that I actually didn't even head back up to Claremont. I went back to the Mission Valley market segment. And I finished my shift with this one, Five Guys, $8.50 for 3.3 miles. So you're gonna wanna see these record-breaking low numbers from Friday and Saturday. And then I just wanna give you a tip on when to cut the shift early. So this Friday and Saturday, actually both shifts were from 5:30 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. On Friday, on that $1.50 peak pay bonus, my total gross revenue, $33.50 versus Saturday for $30.39. Friday's total gross revenue per hour, a very much lower than average, $16.75, while Saturday was even worse, just $15.20 per hour. On Friday and Saturday, I both completed 4 deliveries, and on both days, I did receive 4 tips, with Friday's tip average $3.75 and Saturday $3.50. Friday's business miles $18.20 for a $1.84 payout per mile versus Saturday 19 business miles for a $1.60 payout per mile. Friday's tax deduction $10.47 versus Saturday $10.93. So I heard you in talking with other drivers this past weekend was very slow. So for future shifts, whenever you're watching this video, what should you do and when should you basically throw in the towel when your shift is slow? You need to have an earnings barometer, a minimum threshold of what you're willing to accept and earn when you're out there on the road. Typically for me, it's at least $20 per hour in gross revenue. Now, ideally, my average has been for the past good amount of shifts, $25+ per hour in gross revenue. So if you scheduled a shift, and I would do at least an hour of that shift, and you're calculating that it's below that, if it's, $12, $15, whatever it is, below that threshold, start considering it. Now that's just after the first hour. Now, if you want to be aggressive with it, if you want to just go offline after that first hour, if you're making 15 an hour, you can definitely do that. I would say realistically, give it an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe half of that shift time. And if you're making significantly less, then consider just ending that dash, ending that shift. Because maybe you can power through, you're probably going to make the same earnings per hour, because in my experience, if it starts slow, most likely it's going to keep being slow. Or again, you can end your shift. You can work on another app, another niche. You can work on another business thing that you got going on versus just continuing to drive for another 3 hours at $15 per hour. So if you got value in this video, definitely drop me a like. And you can also click or tap the screen here for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next one.